Hey. Okay, so I moved inside now because I've come to terms with the winter is still outside and I'm not going to get the temperature I need to get this started. It's supposed to be, it's supposed to be for really small surf, so I can get a lot of speed out of it, and it should work now. So this is the first time I've ever used peel ply, and I've just peeled it a little bit back, and it's quite amazing how good it is. Like, yeah. I've just cut up some carbon strips to go on the inside. I've just got some scrap carbon, so I might as well, considering you're not ever going to see it, I'll use up the scrap on the inside of the board. But first of all, I'm going to mix up some epoxy, and I'm just going to coat the surface really lightly with epoxy on both sides, with a light layer, and let that start going off until it's a little bit sticky, so that when I start the layup of the laminate of all the carbon, the EPS foam is not going to soak up so much of the resin out of the carbon, so it'll be stronger. Yeah, so I'm going to start with that. I've got some scales over here. I've got my epoxy resin, it's 2 to 1 parts, ready to go. I've got some mixing sticks, and I've got some paper cups to mix up in. I also got a small paintbrush. Hope I've got more, but I just paint this on super thin. Hey, I'm back. Just mixing up some thickened epoxy now. Didn't bore you with mixing this, but I had some lightweight epoxy filler that I didn't know I had, so I just used that instead of the thermo agent. Use up the old stuff first, and it's less dust, less harmful for my lungs. Yeah, so here I've laid up the carbon fibre. I did about 3 or 4 layers of carbon inside, so it should be strong enough. Now I'm back and I'm just taping up, ready to put the carbon fibre on the top. This went pretty good. So this is the first time I've ever used peel ply, and I've just peeled it a little bit back, and it's quite amazing how good it is. It's like, yeah. It's like a matte finish, but it's just so smooth. So before I glassed the carbon strip on, I went outside and rough sanded, so I had good adhesion with the carbon to the board. And yeah, I don't have dust marks going, I know that, sorry. Hey. Okay, so I saved you all the boringness of me laminating the other side and then all the sanding and the filler coat. I used the white pigment in the filler coat just so I knew how far I could sand the carbon. So on the bottom I've just sanded it just enough so that you can see the carbon coming through on either edge. There's a little bit of a bump there on either side of the carbon strip, so it's like kind of forms like a little channel. And inside the carbon strip there's a concave as well, following the contour of the concave. So it's sort of like a little double channel that runs down the whole board. Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Just leave it as a quad, so don't have the drag of the extra fin box in the back there. The deck, I had a couple little air bubbles in the layup on the deck, but it was the first time I'd used peel ply before, and the peel ply was amazing. It left the carbon strip like super smooth. Except for the little air bubbles that I got in it, because I think the core has some voids or little holes in it, so the bubbles were coming up out of and they made the carbon just bubble a little bit, but it's fine. I'm just putting a little bit of extra carbon on the top of them and finished it. On the deck, it's kind of smooth, but it's the same. It's like a little bit of a lump on the top of the deck, but I don't mind. It doesn't really matter. The weight, the weight of it's still super light. It's still really light. It went together really well. I don't think I could do a much better job. It's much stiffer than it was before. Before I checked the flex, and it was really flexy in the tail when I did that. But now it's pretty stiff. So I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I think 20 was a lot too wide for me. And now, it looks really nice. It looks like a really nice board. I cut this one in half to try to make it work the way I expected it to work in the beginning. And I'm really happy with it. I think it's gonna go really good. I'm gonna put a spray job on the deck now before I put a pad on, just to cover up these little defects. And yeah, I called it the Gamma Minus because they have they have a model now that looks like this one. It's called the FRK Plus. So this is the Gamma Minus, because it's minus the middle, and it's a full custom for me. You know, I don't think there's no Gamma there's no Slater designs like this. I don't think anyone has come up with the craziest idea to cut a board in half like this. Even though when I shared it on the backyard shapers, someone had actually cut a board in half like this. And if you have a really wide board and you want it less volume, this is a really good technique, I think. You know, as long as you have the skill to actually laminate it back together, I think it's a viable way to make your board skinnier and take out some volume. You know, obviously you don't want to make a board worse than it was in the beginning. So as long as you think it's going to be an improvement, I think it's worth it. I've done to this one, and I think it's an improvement. And the only way now for me is to just test it. So, like I said, I live in the middle of Sweden. I don't have anywhere really to test it, so I'm just going to wait until I go away, and I'll just take it with me. And I've got some large quad set. That's the Futures AM2s. I'm going to try those in. I'm going to use the AM2 back quads anyhow all the time, but then I've got some pivot fins I can try in the front. So I'll try it with the two different fins because I really liked the pivot. I got new pivot fins and I really liked them in the new board that I bought in Portugal. So I'm going to try the pivot in the front and the AM2s in the back, and I'll try the AM2s in the front as well and just see how the board goes. If it goes good with the AM2s in it, then I can just use that quad set in this board and use the other pivot set in the other board. And so the next project I'll film is going to be making the full carbon board. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to build a carbon fiber board to compete on as well. That's the next project I'm going to do. Alright, if you made it this far, thanks very much for watching, and have a nice day. You!